Have you been having trouble exfilling, or at least just want some tips and tricks to do better with that inside of DMZ? Well, in today's video, I'm going to try to guide you towards the right direction and tell you the best tips and tricks on how to exfil successfully almost every single time. Reason why I'm saying almost is because it does really depend on your game. I can't promise you that you'll get it every single time, but again, I will just try to give you best tips and tricks. So the first thing is first, obviously exfilling is the main point of DMZ. You do it to get away with your money so you can maybe get your weapon back faster, get away with, let's say, the weapon case and the M13B, which is the main thing everybody's trying to do. So that's probably going to be the most annoying thing you're going to end up running into, players that want to steal that weapon off of you or that weapon case. So if you are planning to do that specifically, do be cautious. You will be one of the main targets. Everybody will be going for you, especially if you have the weapon case you are marked on the map. But aside from that, if you're just trying to exfil without those, what I always recommend for you to do when you spawn in is instantly check out where the exfil locations are. There should be 3 on your map, and the one that I always recommend for you to go to is the one that isn't surrounded by nothing. You have some buildings around the area, and especially not a huge open area unless absolutely necessary. So every single time I personally spawn in, I always open the map to scope out the area for vehicles, other things that I'm planning to do, and especially those exfil locations. Since if you decide to go to a very open area, you won't have a lot of hiding and a lot of scoping out to do, which is another thing I want to get onto. If you find a location that isn't open and it's surrounded by buildings, and especially doesn't have like strongholds or really high value target locations near it, well, one thing you want to do is instantly when you walk up to that like gas that's on the ground, activate it, instantly run to a building nearby. Another great thing to do is trying to get instantly as high of a ground as possible, because by the time that chopper arrives, you have the chance to scope out the area, notice if there's any players around, and be able to be the first one to take them out if there are any. Now the cool thing also on top of this is when the chopper lands itself, you have around 30 seconds by the time you have to get into it, and when you do get into it, you have a 5-second timer, which is probably one of the most stressful times. Running to the chopper isn't too bad if you do know that there's no players around you, but once you're under those 5 seconds, players can come out of bushes that are hiding and being sneaky, trying to take you down essentially. So apart from the things that I told you about calling in the chopper, another good thing to do is making sure that there's no people nearby inside of buildings or especially inside of bushes. So if you have enough time and it's not really late game, I do recommend for you to check those spots out. Another thing to really quickly mention is you can sometimes buy UAVs at buy stations or just find them. They do come in handy. You will be able to tell when there's enemies nearby or even AI. The AI shouldn't be too big of a difficulty. Definitely do hide out in those locations and scope out the area as best as you can before you run out to the chopper, just to be able to take them down. And another huge one that I do recommend for you to do if you're, let's say, just in a spot where there's no hidden locations but you have a vehicle, is driving around as much as you can before the chopper comes in. Moving around is very important when you're inside the vehicle, so that if there are players that are nearby, they don't just laser you or snipe you out of the vehicle. And especially having that vehicle will be really good. Then drive around and drive over enemies, AI, and other things like that, since the vehicles can insta down anyone that gets into your way. And also taking down vehicles isn't too easy, even with like rocket launchers and other things inside of this game, compared to like, let's say, Warzone 1, since this is basically Warzone DMZ, so there isn't a lot to be worried about. Also, carrying around a heartbeat sensor could be useful, even though sometimes the heartbeat sensors inside of this game just don't feel as good as they did in the previous Call of Duty that we had, Warzone 1 obviously. And just the main idea of being successful at exfilling is just scoping out the location, being as cautious as possible and not trying to rush it, because you will have those annoying players that just love to troll people and take them out. Some people are careless, just stand around that gas and wait for the chopper to arrive without even hiding or being cautious. And hopefully this guide did help you in some kind of way. I know that it wasn't a really broken strategy or anything like that, because there is none, unfortunately. The best thing, as I said, is just being cautious, hiding inside of buildings, making sure your area is not surrounded by enemies. And I know that during that time enemies can come in, but since you have 30 seconds to get in there and then 5 seconds for it to take off, you should be good and shouldn't be struggling too much. Thank you so much for watching. We're on the goal to hitting 40,000 subscribers. If you did watch this far, be sure to subscribe. We're nearly halfway there to 38,000, which is kind of crazy, you know, like every single day is like, what is happening? Anyway, thank you so much for that, and also be sure to drop a like on the video, as that does really help it out. Anyway, without further ado, guys, I will see you guys next one. Peace out.